Welcome everyone to Thoughts on Thursday. So this is season 2, episode 4, and today we're going to be discussing entrepreneurship and hospitality. And we're really going to be asking the question around, is entrepreneurship a skill that we need to have more of in hospitality? As we think about the creativity and innovation that the industry needs next, is it time to start your own journey? Is it time to bring new skills to your work in a hotel chain or a tech business or an ownership group? So without further ado, Sophia, over to you.
Okay, so I'm Sophia. I'm originally from Colombia. So a little bit about my background. So I'm the founder and avo lover of Toasty. That's my official job title. I gave it to myself. And so my background, I studied event management in the Sino-British College in Shanghai, in China. I was there for like 6 years. And then I went to Le Roche in Switzerland, where I did my MBA in hospitality. I graduated in 2014. After that, I went back to Shanghai, where I did a management training with the Intercontinental Hotel Group for 6 months. And that's when I realized hotels were not my cup of tea. So I moved into events and PR, where I was there, a project management at an agency for almost 2 years. Then I decided it was time to come west. So I moved to San Francisco, where my family is based, and I started Toasty. So my main takes up from starting my business was one, you need to create a system that runs your business. It would really help you understand how everything works, control your costs. And also once you have new employees, you can also train them really easily, because you basically hand them in a manual. Then you have to create a culture about caring. I realized you cannot really pay people to care, but you have to kind of create that culture where you care about things and they also care about it. They care about you, they care about your customers, and they care about your product, and then they can follow the system that you already created. And one thing that is really important is that you have to work on your business and not in your business. If you stay all the time in operations, your business is never going to grow, because you need to go out there and sit down and think okay, what's our next step? So yeah, so once you have a system, once you have a brand, once you have a team that can run the business, you have a model that can be easily replicated. And that's kind of our plan. We're thinking about franchising now and ideally bringing Toasty to your hometown. And yeah, and then I just want to finish with this quote that is every person in their lifetime has had $1 billion idea. And it's true, we all have great ideas. We just need to start executing our ideas and just focus on what we think it's the best idea and redirect all our energy into that. So now I pass it over to Mayor.
Thanks, Sophia. Hi, everyone. I'm Mayor. I am a self-titled hospitality entrepreneur. Basically, I'm from Turkey, and then my life story goes, I went to the US to study industrial engineering and also did a minor in innovation and digital entrepreneurship.
So I want to talk about some trends going back into the hospitality industry and what entrepreneurship is right now in my mind in hospitality, and what I see is happening in the market. I follow a bunch of people on LinkedIn, talk and meet a lot of people, and I'm excited about new products. And I think, as you all know, we're all working remote, we're all doing digital meetings, and the future of digital nomads is now of course it's been growing and on the works for many years. We've been talking about co-living for over 5-10 years now in the industry, but now it's suddenly pushed super forward, and there's this idea of people traveling and kind of staying at places for longer stays, and a mixture between housing and hospitality. There's this term housing as a service, hospitality, where you go on a weekend trip, or you can do a staycation. But I think there will be, and there is people working on this, there will be successful companies who work on building communities, work on kind of empowering people on where how they live, and creating atmospheres for growth, which is essentially what a good experience, hospitality experience in my mind should be about. So lastly, I want to talk about of course anyone major form of entrepreneurship here would be starting your own space, starting your hotel, but I am more interested in the digital side and like kind of enabling these hospitality services to kind of happen. So I want to talk about like distribution first. Right now with the pandemic happening, it's really hard for people to get customers, occupancies at the prices that they desire. So there are a lot of like helper products that kind of allow people to increase website traffic and like segment and personalize the product that they're offering. So the basically getting the customer and like anything that companies can do to help like spaces get customers, I think is gonna be more and more important, especially with the pandemic. Like OTA traffic is not enough, so any creative solution there would be great. And
perfect. Thanks, Mia. That's fab. That's awesome. So I've got a couple of questions. People have been pinging me privately, and I see Carla's got a question too. I'll just quickly kick off. It's a question for Sophia actually. So from kind of concept and idea through to your first store opening, could you just briefly describe that process you went through, kind of, and how long it took? Like, I guess, how did you kind of test your idea, get your hypothesis up and running before you kind of, you know, went all in?
So honestly, I didn't really have like a clear plan. I just kind of moved to California. I noticed like a lot of places were serving avocado toast, and I was like, oh, but they don't have like toppings anywhere. You know, you could only add like salmon or only add an egg. So I was like, oh, what if I make like the home of avocado toast? So that was kind of like the focus. And I decided from the beginning to do a concept that is really simple, that what I said again, that it can multiply really easily. But also I feel like when you're like really into a niche, like really specific product, you become more like people know you for something, you know, people know us for avocado toast. Like if you search for avocado toast in San Francisco, like we're there first, like on all the search engines. So yeah, so to go back to the question, it took me about like 3 months, which is not like really long. It was like I had like the idea, since it's a simple idea, like pretty simple. I wanted my logo to be an avocado. I needed a name, so I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about a name. And my boyfriend said, what about Toasty? And I was like, Toasty, I'm not sure. And then I couldn't think about anything better. But now I like it. It's kind of cute and short.
Hibram, you had a good question here. Want to go ahead?
Yes. First of all, how all are you? I hope all of you are well. Yeah, I had a question regarding the avocado toast business model. Understanding the pandemic and now you can't have people in dining there in your restaurant. I would just like to know if there's a focus right now on the delivery trend, and understanding that on some markets now there have been ghost kitchens and on specific points that are only for delivery. So I just wanted to ask Sophia, like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I mean, luckily San Francisco never shut down the restaurants. We were always open for takeout and delivery. We were like, since the start, we were always on all the delivery platforms. I mean, most of these companies are from here, right? Uber Eats, Postmates, Caviar, DoorDash, like we're on all of them. And we definitely, like, that's what helped us survive through this. Like we saw like a spike of like, I don't know, 500% on deliveries.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Lars, you had a question. Do you want to go ahead?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sharing, obviously, Mia and Sophia. It's always great to see practical cases and stories. I had a question. Have you found any specific digital tools, softwares, programs, application very helpful to keep track on how in your startup things are processing, if somebody is doing their support job, bringing people back together? Yeah, just some best practices with a name on it. Let's put it this way.
I mean, in my experience, Slack is one of the major tools. I mean, everyone is kind of on that in the startup world. It's like a major fast communication platform. At Sonder, we were using Asana. I don't know if if you've heard of the product, but it's a task management kind of software where you can build processes. You can like send tasks to each other. So
yeah, I completely agree. I think with kind of video calling, somewhere to communicate like a Slack, and then somewhere to manage who's doing what. We use Monday.com, which is exactly the same as Asana. Essentially, quickly create tasks. You can prioritize right there. You can kind of set due dates and tag people. Yeah. So kind of couple questions that come through here. Do you think the hospitality is entrepreneurial enough? That's kind of part one. Part two is, do you think you can teach it? Do you think the industry could get better?
I mean, I don't know. Like me personally, I don't feel like you can teach it. You can teach like people like basic things like how to create models, how to manage a team. But then in real life, you learn everything kind of like on the go. Especially like nobody teaches you at school how to be anyone's boss. So then like it's also like a learning process, that part, like how to manage a team, how to act like the boss without feeling like you're the bad cop of the story. So I think it's more like on the go, and I feel like it's some people are built for it. Like I've talked to a lot of people who just want to have a job and they're okay with that, and they have 21 days off, and sometimes I want to be like those people because I feel like you're never really off, right? You're always in the back of your mind thinking about it, but I feel it's more like a personality type.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question, James.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, of course, Angelo.
I just put it on the group chat, but I was a little bit interesting about the emotional side, because to become an entrepreneur in a way, as I wrote, you take a sort of a leap of faith on to become an entrepreneur. At the same time, obviously, you're gonna have your analysis and your business, your core business, nice and sorted, but that emotional side to say, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do that. How do you handle that?
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I guess part of that is probably the situation you're in, right? And actually, do you feel like you've got enough financial runway in terms of money in the bank to try something new, to buy yourself time? So a couple of thoughts. I know a lot of people start things as a bit of a side project, which means you can test the water while you've got the security of your job and your set holiday. But the other insight, which I think kind of throws up, is now is probably a better time than ever. And I think you're going to see a lot of people moving on into the entrepreneurship space because potentially people aren't earning as much as they were before. Laura, you had a really good question, I think, around talent. Great to hear that.
Yeah. Hi. I'm just wondering, do you see like a division between there's the hospitality entrepreneurs that may not be coming from hospitality school or a background, and then there's the 5-star kind of management training programs where you've got to have all the experience? Is there a division? Sonder, did you I think quite a few people have hospitality backgrounds and they've switched, but do you kind of come to blocks, or do you kind of find that, we're lacking this knowledge now, and we wish there was more merge between the two? How do you see this?
I think that's a great question, because something that we struggled with at Sonder actually was like the hiring policy was not around hiring hospitality people. Like I worked in hospitality, but like did not study it. And basically 95% of the company, or even more, was that way. Like people like Sonder wanted push their hiring to hire people from like non-hospitality, more like agile kind of backgrounds. I mean, there is the notion of, if you go to like hospitality school does not necessarily train you to be entrepreneurial, which I think is like a hole that has to be fixed. That was what Sonder taught. But...
So last question for you. What are your expectations for the future of the industry? Just kind of quick comment on, I suppose, the space you play in. Like what do you think might unfold in the next year or two? It's a pretty broad question, but I'd love to kind of get a bit of a crystal ball going with the two of you.
Yeah, I mean, in the hospital, like vacation rental / hotel space, I think like anything that caters to digital nomads on like the property side and creates unique personalized experiences and can find the right people will get ahead of the game. And you have to do this in a cost-effective way. Obviously, your competition is like Sonder, or other like vacation rentals or hotels that are running quite leanly. So I think like space-wise, there is a big opportunity there.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. Sophia, final thoughts?
Yeah, well, definitely delivery apps are going to grow more. Also, like a lot of technology in restaurants, like we ourselves, we also have like a self-ordering kiosk. We don't come close to our customers. They take their order. They can customize everything. We have QR codes at the table where people can order from their phones. So definitely applying more like technological solutions to the whole operation.
As ever, thanks everyone for your contribution and attendance and attention. That's been great. Mira, Sophia, it's been awesome to have you co-host with me. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, we will see you next week, 5 o'clock UK time, 12 o'clock Eastern time, and do it all again. So I look forward to catching you then. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. Have a great weekend.
You.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.